So the newest chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen has come out, and honestly, this chapter was equal parts wacky and equal parts kind of showing off Takaba really is special in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. If he's literally making Kenjaku, one of the most evil people in the series, literally have to play along with him in the way that he does throughout the chapter, and it was honestly very cool. Honestly, I think this is like JJK kind of getting the moment to go back, die down, and just, introduce some jokes into the series, since everything's been so serious ever since the passing of Gojo. So honestly, I did like the chapter, but it was really wacky and zany. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Before we do that though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy anything you see here today, as I make many different videos very similar to this one. Thank you so much. The chapter starts off with Kenjaku summoning a special grade cursed spirit named Akira Otake, and I feel like a lot of people forget just how strong these special grade spirits are because of the fact that we're like in endgame, so everybody's kind of transcended above certain special grades, but they're still strong. I feel like we shouldn't really downplay them, and it's just interesting how strong people have become to the point where like special grades are almost just kind of very beatable. But this special grade does get beaten very easily by Takaba, and he literally summons Truck-kun to do it. So it's just funny seeing JJK know about the whole Truck-kun thing, but a truck literally destroys the special grade. So it just shows that Takaba, his ability really does transcend kind of logic, because you would think like, why would just a truck defeat a special grade cursed spirit, when literally in the series it states that like some of these tanks, basically tank level strength just to defeat, and a truck was able to do it. So it just shows that his ability really does transcend all logic and meaning. So it's such a strong ability, and we kind of get to see more of it unfold throughout the chapter this week. It's at this point I feel like everybody can understand where I'm coming from when I say like the chapter really does become so wacky and zany. It's almost like an acid trip, honestly. Like it's very insane what's going on in the chapter. But we get a kind of cut off to a different scene in the chapter, and it's actually with Kenjaku and Takaba becoming police officers. Kenjaku then alleges that Takaba might have had more to drink than he really does, and he has him literally take a sort of breathalyzer test. So it's literally just devolving into madness, this chapter. It's kind of like we just keep going down and down this weird rabbit hole where things are getting more crazy, more zany, and it's like JJK just really has been kind of I feel like using these kind of interactions between Takaba and Kenny to kind of die down and just relax a bit. After the whole Gojo thing, after all of that, it feels like he's using this to kind of die down, just relax, give us like some really funny chapters before he kind of gets back into the meat and potatoes of the series, which is obviously going to be the Sukuna versus Yuji, altercation that's going to be going on. We get some more dumb stuff kind of going on, some more humor, where we see that inside of the bag that he was using as a breathalyzer is actually a sort of goldfish, and they literally try to save this goldfish, but it seems like they aren't able to do it, and for some reason Kenjaku turns into a woman nurse, and Takaba doesn't really find that funny, and it keeps devolving, it just keeps going downhill, or I say downhill, but it just keeps getting weirder and weirder from here, and then they end up playing rock, paper, scissors, and they're picking each other's noses. It's just so much is going on in such a short period of time. It's like, it's so weird, it's so wacky, it's so zany, but it's really weird. And also, this is at the point in the chapter where we see Kenjaku kind of realize exactly what's going on with Takaba's ability, or kind of realizing another facet of it, and he realizes that it not only materializes things into the sort of world that Takaba's thinking, or kind of affects the world around them, it also affects the imagination and the sort of thoughts of the person that he's fighting, so the opponent. So he realizes that my thoughts and kind of my actions are getting affected by this also, and he sort of thinks to himself like, maybe I can kind of play into this. After we kind of get this realization, we get some more kind of slapstick humor where we see them kind of running towards a door, and it literally has like the MC, or like it sort of seems like an announcer, which is kind of us, ask them to pick a door, and they both rush towards one of the doors, and we're kind of just getting more of this humor. But I do want to mention the fact that Kenjaku did kind of talk about the fact that it does affect his imagination, and they purposely put this into the chapter. So I feel like this is kind of giving us a glimpse as to how maybe he's going to defeat Takaba, or one of the ways that he's going to kind of bypass his ability. So I just feel like it's weird that they would even mention that without Kenjaku sort of doing something with it. And although Kenjaku is doing very goofy things right now too with Takaba, I feel like that is a very important part of the chapter that we should not forget, and we should remember the fact that he's going to maybe use this to his advantage to win the fight in some way. But we're just going to kind of have to see what happens, and this is all going to come after all this goofiness is going on. So let's keep going on with the chapter. The chapter then cuts to them sort of having fun times in the water. So they're literally playing around in the ocean water. It seems like everything's going great, and you know, it's just really weird. This is after they have a sort of joke where there's a cat in the middle of the street and Takaba kind of goes to save the cat, and then it actually turns out to be Kenjaku. So it still shows that literally everything, every facet of the world and Kenjaku's mind is being affected by this ability, and we get to really see how just monstrous this ability is, and how if Takaba was able to master this, he would literally be unstoppable. It's just the fact that the power is so strong that, you know, we have to get a sort of balance where he doesn't necessarily know like what's going on completely, and you know, Takaba isn't really the smartest person. I feel like he just isn't, but that's the kind of trade-off you need with an ability that is so powerful like that to make it fair. And you know, even Kenjaku realizes this, since in the chapter he does kind of come to the realization that, hey, like, you know, all of these different scenarios are literally pushing me to my limit. Like, you know, it doesn't really seem like it right now, but I am taking damage continuously. Like, I'm taking damage, I'm kind of just, you know, going off the deep end, so I'm gonna have to do something right now, something to kind of bypass this ability and get past Takaba, and you know, stop taking all this damage, since the ability is just that monstrous. And honestly, a lot of people are kind of downplaying Takaba going to this, saying that Takaba isn't going to necessarily be able to win, and I feel like this battle is going to be way closer than a lot of people think, just in how it is able to affect every facet of the person that you're fighting against and the world around you. And even Kenjaku realizes, yeah, like, this is a very scary ability, I need to wrap this up right now. That's when Kenjaku realizes that the fight kind of won't be able to end until he sort of satiates the hunger for comedy that Takaba has. So he kind of comes up with an idea like, yeah, I'm gonna have to finish this, I need to do something to stop this from happening. So he comes up with an idea to do a sort of final stage play. That's kind of what he calls it in the chapter. And you know, this is obviously, we can realize that this is like his one chance to sort of finish this, do something maybe that's so funny that Takaba's like kind of satiated. He's like, all right, you know, I'm happy now, like I'm full of comedy, like I'm good. And this will be his ability to strike back, you know, when Takaba isn't able to sort of manifest things into the world that are funny to him, that he really needs at the moment, since he would be sort of satiated in a way. This is actually where the chapter ends off this week, and luckily we do have no break next week, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to cut straight to this fight in the coming chapters. But I do think it's just very interesting, the fight that's going on with Kenny and Takaba, where it's like a lot of people are downplaying Takaba, saying like there's no way he could win, but even Kenjaku says like this is actually way closer than we think it is. It's a lot closer, and his ability is just so monstrous that like if it wasn't really Kenjaku, somebody as conniving as him, like would they have been able to get out of this ability or kind of get out of this loop? And he says it himself, like, you know, I'm just continuously taking damage, so after a certain time that you're stuck in it, like you would just instantaneously kind of lose, I guess, in a way, you know, just from taking that damage, you know, little by little, over and over, from the weird scenarios that are going on. It's just so much, it's like mental overload. So it's just so scary seeing Takaba's ability, and I can only imagine if somebody that was just smarter, somebody that knew exactly what was going on with the ability had it, how broken they would be. And obviously as a writer, you have to balance out this kind of broken of ability, you know, giving it to someone like Takaba who's not the smartest. But it's just very interesting, and I do want to see how Kenjaku kind of finishes all of this off with that stage play and gets his win, or you know, maybe he'll lose, which I highly doubt it. He'll figure something out, but it's obviously showing that this isn't going to be an easy fight for him, and honestly we should not see it as that. With that being said though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed anything you see here today, as I make a bunch of different videos very similar to this one. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'm out. Peace.